terminal count.
Overlook Horizon High Altitude Balloons, an Ontario County nonprofit.
This is no ordinary balloon.
What a view!
Over 110,000 feet.
This is incredible.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Hey guys, Tori here from Overlook Horizon, live today on a somewhat decent afternoon here in Rochester, New York. Coming live today for the next SpaceX Falcon 9 launch for the Iridium NEXT constellation is our primary payload today. This is Iridium-6, but we've also got a NASA mission on board as well, doing a little ride sharing today for the Grace follow-on. So this is a follow-up payload to the original Grace mission that ended last year after 15 years of a very successful mission for NASA. And so they're launching another pair of these Grace satellites, the Grace follow-on mission, also launching today aboard the SpaceX Falcon 9 out on the West Coast today at Vandenberg Air Force Base. So we're looking good for launch today, and things are in order. The weather today was about 90% for launch, so that's good news for today's flight. Hopefully we have no issues with weather or anything like that, because today's launch is an instantaneous launch window, which is pretty typical for polar orbits, which is what we're going to see today. So instantaneous launch window today, which basically means that we have no opportunity to hold. Any sort of hold is a scrub. So we can't reset the count or anything like that, but that's what we're looking at today. So hello everybody, I see some people out on YouTube. I see some of our regulars, Deborah, Tyler, Leia, Gregorius, Tomo Biwan, Arnis. I'd like to see everybody here. Good to see you. I was trying to get my YouTube, or not my YouTube, my Facebook comments up, but Facebook is not having it today, so I can't see any of your Facebook comments at the moment. We are simulcasting on both YouTube and Facebook. Oh wow, that was really loud in my ear. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that. Yeah, let me just see if I can get these. Oh man, it keeps going off in my ear. Yeah, well, I can't see the Facebook comments. I'm going to work on that, and we're going to see if we can get that up and running at some point here today, so I can see your Facebook comments. But if you're on Facebook watching, hello to you, even though I can't see any of those. So, hey, and also the big news, I didn't announce it on Twitter here because I felt a little bit rushed today. I was trying to get everything put together, and it just wasn't coming together as quickly as I wanted it to. We are going to give away, hopefully with a successful launch today, we're going to give away another test patch. Yay, everybody likes free giveaways. And good news, if you followed along on the last flight, we did do one of these giveaways, but we got into some restrictions on international give, blah, blah, blah. It was only open to U.S. citizens. Today, we're expanding that. So good news, I worked on it. I told you I'd work on it. We can actually expand the giveaway to a much larger area for the test mission patch. So we'll give that away after successful launch today, and we will be giving that so you can be in the U.S. If you're in the U.S., obviously you can win, but it's also now open to Canada and the United Kingdom and anybody that's in the EU, with the exception of a couple countries in the EU. I've got to remember what countries those are. And also, it's also not open to anybody in Quebec. Sorry, Quebec. But if you're in Quebec, not open for Quebec. But let's see, who's the unlucky EU people that cannot be a part of this? I forget what they are. It's Quebec, France, Sweden, and Italy. So if you're in France, Sweden, or Italy, sorry, can't win the patch today. But anybody in the US, Canada, the UK, or the EU that's not in Quebec, France, Sweden, or Italy, you're eligible to win a test patch today if we have a successful launch. So I'm excited that we can actually give that away and open it up to a lot more people today. And if you're looking for official rules for the giveaway, there's a link in the description below. If you're looking to read through a legal document, more power to you. So what are we talking about today? I see the hashtag Space Lobsters coming in the comments. I love it. Tyler says, thanks for the patch. Tyler, I hope you got, I think Tyler was our winner last time. I hope it arrived. It should have arrived by now. So hopefully that patch arrived. We did come through and give it away like we said, and Tyler was our winner last time around. So hopefully you got that, Tyler. Leia says, yes, Germany. Yes, Germany is eligible. Germany is eligible to win a patch today. So, offer valid in Rhode Island. Yeah, as far as I know, we're valid in Rhode Island. Yeah, everybody in the U.S. is valid. So let's talk about today's mission and what we got going on. So if you haven't followed along with these in the past, let's see, what am I trying to pull up here? We'll have the got the SpaceX video get queued up here. It's not where it's supposed to be in my screen here, but supposed to slide over like this. But we'll have that up. They're going to start their broadcast probably in about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll listen in. I'll try not to talk over them as much as I can, and we'll just kind of comment on what they have to say and listen in on their broadcast. But this is today we're launching a reused Falcon 9 rocket. So this is a Block 4 booster. We had the debut of Block 5 last time around. We're taking a step back today. This is Block 4. This is a reused booster. This previously flew on the Zuma mission, the big controversial conspiracy theory Zuma mission from earlier in the year. The Zuma mission, which launched from Vandenberg earlier in the year. If you remember correctly, that one, the first stage booster went up, landed, no problem. Second stage performed well. The payload, though, the Zuma payload, the super top secret Zuma payload, did not detach from the upper stage. And according to SpaceX, they did everything properly. Usually, SpaceX provides the payload adapter, but on the Zuma mission, SpaceX did not provide the payload adapter, which is the last little bit that kicks the satellite off of the upper stage. That was provided by Northrop Grumman. And so, presumably, although they haven't come out and said like, yay, we screwed it up, presumably something happened with Northrop Grumman's payload adapter, that it didn't separate the spacecraft, and it came down in a blaze of glory when the second stage re-entered. So that's what happened to the Zuma mission. But the good news is that the first stage booster was successfully recovered, and so we're going to reuse that today. So this is a reused Block 4 first stage. But today we are not going to be recovering it. That's pretty typical for Block 4 boosters because this has already been used once. They were really only meant to be used twice. And we're also trying to clear, SpaceX is also trying to make way for Block 5. So this is going to get expended. Really no reason for them to recover it. They're going to let this one get expended, and then we'll have fewer Block 4s, and we'll start moving on with Block 5s. And I believe the debut Block 5 on the West Coast will be Iridium-7, which is coming up in July. So we'll see Block 5 coming to the West Coast here in another month or two, or 2 months. So that's what we're looking at today, reused booster. But we do have the Mr. Steven boat. Mr. Steven is out at sea right now. If you're not familiar with the Mr. Steven boat, it looks something like this. Mr. Steven is our big catcher's mitt in the water. It's going to attempt to catch the fairing today. It's tried twice before, and is it twice? Maybe 3 times. I think twice. They've tried to catch it a couple times, not successful yet. Come close a couple of times, they have yet to catch it. Mr. Steven, though, earlier this week was out doing some major tests out in the ocean. Presumably, nobody really knows what exactly it was doing, but it was cruising around the port of Los Angeles, presumably doing some testing for today's recovery attempt. So it was out and about and really giving it its all. Sorry, I see my microphone gain is way up here. Let me turn this down. Sorry, everybody. I'm just blowing out your speakers. But the Mr. Steven was out giving a practice run a couple times. So hopefully we can have a successful fairing recovery today. Although, if it's anything like the last couple times, they have not shown that on camera, which is a huge bummer because I got to see how this thing works. This seems crazy to me. Basically, Mr. Steven is a big upside-down catcher's mitt. It's a big net on the water. Here's another shot of it here with its new upgraded bright yellow netting. And basically, the Mr. Steven boat is going to drive underneath the payload fairing, which is going to be parachuting down from from the upper atmosphere after being jettisoned, and it kind of looks something like this. Going to come parachuting down, and Mr. Steven is going to try to drive its boat and drive its netting underneath that descending payload fairing and catch it in the netting. That seems crazy to me. But a couple years ago, landing a orbital class booster rocket on a barge in the ocean was also crazy. So who knows? It's a time for craziness in spaceflight, which is awesome. So let's see. Take the glasses off your head, dude. They serve no purpose. Oh no, they serve a purpose. You know, what's wrong with my glasses? You want me to take my glasses off there? It was sunny out today. I just came in off the car, put them on. But Robert doesn't like my glasses. I'll get rid of the glasses for you, Robert. Tyler, yeah, I got it. It's cool. Oh, glad you got the patch, Tyler. Let's see. Constantina. Oh, Constantina won one of our stickers. We did send one out to Constantina. Hopefully you got it. I have no idea how long it takes to get to you, but hopefully that should be coming up soon, because we did give away a couple stickers when we had a scrub and we couldn't give away a patch. Do you think there will be a Mrs. Steven? That's a there's a good question. Maybe there might be a Mrs. Steven or a Miss Steven at some point. Just because right now the Mr. Steven boat is only recovering half of the payload fairing. So we have 2 halves to recover. Right now they're just working on getting one back successfully. At some point, and I'm really kind of interested to see how this is going to work, but at some point they're going to recover both halves. Because it's about, I think it's $3 million per half, or is it $6 million per half? The number $6 million has been thrown out, but I think that's $6 million for the entire fairing, so I'm assuming it's $3 million per half. So there should be a Mr. and a Mrs. Steven boat at some point to recover both, or the other theory is that netting can be dropped and they can somewhat control which fairing half comes down first, so they may try to recover both fairings on the same ship. Land one, drop the netting, get a new netting up in a hurry. Yeah, that seems kind of crazy. And then recover a second one on the same ship. That would be just absolutely madness. But at some point, we got to see what they're going to do to recover the second half. But we got one thing at a time. Let's recover the first half first. So what are the mitt specs? The catcher's mitt. I don't know. Does anybody have the specs on how? It's big. It's huge. I don't know. I've seen, but I don't think I have a picture of it loaded up here. But the payload fairing, which is pretty large in and of itself, looks tiny on the Mr. Steven boat. So Mr. Steven is pretty large. Hey, there we go. We got a SpaceX broadcast starting here. So I see a bunch of your comments coming in. Let me just rifle through some of these things quick. And then we've got a lot of time to talk afterwards because we're going to be live for about an hour after launch, waiting for the Iridium to get jettisoned here. So let's throw out some stats real quick for what we're looking at today. This is the first launch for the DLR. DLR is, because I'm confusing, is the German Aerospace Center. But in German, I'm sure Leia could tell you exactly what it is. But DLR is the German abbreviation for however you say German Aerospace Center in German. But the DLR is the first SpaceX launch. They're pretty big space flight company, but this is the first SpaceX launch for the DLR. This is the 3rd launch out of Vandenberg for this year. This is going to be the 6th launch for Iridium by SpaceX. So Iridium's getting a pretty frequent customer of SpaceX. 9th launch of the Falcon 9 for this year. 10th launch this year by SpaceX, because we also had the one Falcon Heavy. This is going to be the 12th reflight of an orbital class booster. The 12th time that they've recovered a booster and then flown it again, which is getting to be pretty awesome. It's starting to feel routine, but it's still crazy technology here. 55th launch of a Falcon 9, 61st launch by SpaceX. So I say this every time, but there were 5 Falcon 1 flights and 1 Falcon Heavy, so there's the difference between the 55 and the 61. And this is the last Iridium mission to fly on a Block 4 booster. The next one is back at Vandenberg for the Block 5 debut, which I believe is scheduled for July. And then if this date holds and it actually launches, this is going to be the fastest turnaround for one of those boosters. But CRS-15, which is coming up, that's the flight that's going to reuse the NASA test booster. That will likely break the record in the beginning of June if that launch date holds, because the NASA test booster is intended to be reused on CRS-15 the beginning of June, and that's a really quick turnaround. So there's our stats for today, and then I kind of mentioned a little bit about the timeline. So because this is a Block 4 booster, we have a little bit of a different fueling process than we saw last time on Block 5. So we're going back to the old fueling process, the Block 4 fueling process. So they already started RP1, which is the rocket propellant grade kerosene. That already started loading at about T-minus 70 minutes. And then at about T-minus 35 minutes, which has already happened, they started liquid oxygen loading. And then we come down to the countdown process there. We get to max Q about 1:20 after launch. We've had the first stage cutoff and separation about 2:50. Fairing deployment at about the 3-minute mark. We've got the second stage cutoff at about 11 minutes, or 10 minutes rather, and then at 11 minutes we see the Grace follow-on mission getting deployed. And then we got a long time. We got like 45 minutes until we get a second stage restart, and then we get the Iridium satellites begin deploying about 1 hour and 5 minutes into launch. So there are 5 Iridium satellites on board, which is about half the normal. That usually they include about 10 Iridium satellites on these launches, but because it's sharing it with the NASA Grace follow-on, they only got about half of the normal Iridium satellites on board. So there are 5 of them. So that's our timeline for today, and just in time, they're getting started. We got some more stuff to show, but let me switch over to here, get some volume up, and we'll listen. Let's see, turn that up a little bit. You guys tell me if I'm blowing out your eardrums. Now I'm trying to read some of the comments here before they get started. But let's listen in for what they have to say today while I look through some of the comments.
Good
here.
afternoon from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Welcome to the webcast of the Iridium-6 and Grace follow-on missions. We're flying 5 Iridium NEXT satellites to join the 50 satellites previously placed in orbit over the last 16 months. In addition, we are flying the Grace follow-on mission made up of 2 satellites. Grace stands for Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment. And you're seeing a live view of Falcon 9 as we prepare for launch in just under 15 minutes from now. Today's launch is scheduled for 19 hours, 47 minutes, 58 seconds Universal Time, or 12:47:58 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'm John Innsbrucker, the Falcon Principal Integration Engineer, and I'm broadcasting from the mezzanine at lunchtime here at SpaceX headquarters, overlooking our Launch Support Center. And I'll be providing you updates throughout today's launch and flight, which will be lasting just over 1 hour. Now, today's mission will be different from most of our flights. We're deploying satellites into 2 different orbits. So once we get into the first orbit, stay with us as the Grace satellites will be deployed just over 11 minutes after launch, followed by the Iridium NEXT satellites 55 minutes later.
Yeah, so that is a little bit different than usual because the Grace follow-on satellites, they're a pair of satellites, those are going to be deployed in kind of the initial parking orbit that they're getting into. So that's usually you see satellite deployment after the second stage burn, or after the final second stage burn, but this one is...
Today's launch is from Space Launch Complex 4 at Vandenberg Air Force Base, a nice view you can see right there on the webcast. We have the 2-stage Falcon 9 vehicle standing 70 meters tall on the launch pad. Now, to put it in comparison, that's longer than the wingspan of an Airbus 380 or a Boeing 747. The first stage provides the initial force to get us out of the majority of the Earth's atmosphere. The first stage on this flight is easy to spot. It still bears the re-entry soot from the re-entry on its previous flight. Now, this is the second flight of this booster, having first flown just over 4 months ago out of Cape Canaveral. Unlike our newer Block 5 boosters, this first stage is not planned for additional flights, so SpaceX will not recover it today. We will be following the second stage as it takes the satellite from the edge of space and accelerates it to orbital speeds of just over 7.5 kilometers per second. Now, as a reference, that takes us faster than 10 times a speeding bullet. Now, we're going to follow the second stage into orbit, and partway through, while we're just after stage separation, you'll see the payload fairing separate. You can see the fairing on top of the Falcon 9 right now. That's a 17-foot diameter object, inside of which are the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites and the 2 GRACE follow-on satellites. Now, for this mission, we will attempt to recover the payload fairing as part of our ongoing fairing reuse initiative.
And show it.
There's a view.
We got a camera view.
Shot from the Falcon 9 payload fairing retrieval ship.
Woo, we got a camera view.
Stephen, currently on station in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, please tell me they're going to show us that.
Now, the ultimate goal of recovering the entire vehicle is part of our overall plan for Falcon, as well as the follow-on rocket that takes us to Mars and interplanetary. So fairing recovery is an important step towards that goal. Meanwhile, back on the launch pad, next to the rocket, you can see the transporter rector, the large white frame structure that contains plumbing, air conditioning, and electrical systems that feed both the rocket and the satellites. And one reminder, unlike the East Coast launches, the transporter rector will begin moving away at T-minus 4.5 minutes to its final launch position, 77.5 degrees up from vertical.
Yeah, they showed 2 different camera angles. I don't know if the one that kind of looked like a drone, that seemed like stock footage to me. I don't know if they're going to actually show that live. The other one definitely looked like live video. It was super grainy and everything else. The second one kind of seemed maybe like it was stock footage.
T-minus 11 minutes
I don't know.
and counting.
It'd be awesome to see that.
As we like to say in the webcast, the Falcon 9 team is working no issues. On the Falcon 9, we began loading propellants at T-minus 70 minutes. Currently, fuel, RP1 kerosene as it's known, is completely loaded on the second stage. Fueling is continuing on the first stage. That will finish loading about 7 minutes before launch. Liquid oxygen loading is ongoing on both the first and second stages and will wrap up in just the last minutes of the countdown. Now, our next major activity coming up in about 3.5 minutes is opening the pre-valves between the first stage propellant tanks and the 9 Merlin 1D engines. This allows the cold liquid oxygen to flow to the top of the turbo pumps, begin chilling them in prior to ignition at T-minus 3 seconds. Now, on top of the Falcon 9, the Iridium and GRACE satellite teams, they're both reporting no issues. They have transferred to internal power and checked that square at T-minus 15 minutes. The range, Vandenberg Air Force Base, the Western Range, they report they are good and ready to support launch. They're also providing weather support, and as you can see, the fog has lifted. We've got a great view of Falcon 9 with blue skies and currently a 0% probability of violating weather conditions. So at T-minus 9 minutes, 40 seconds and counting, all systems are go.
Yeah, and so according to the Twitter machine, that second drone footage was stock footage of Mr. Steven, was not a live drone view. So that was super exciting, but looked like stock footage to me. And some of the reporters I follow online are also saying that it's stock footage, that second drone aerial view. But the other one looked like a live view. Didn't really seem like anything moved, so hopefully it's not just a photo, but that would be awesome to see. And I'm super pumped for that now. So a lot of venting going on. It almost looks like it's on fire.
In order to correctly position the satellites, the SpaceX team has to launch right on time. Today's launch window is only 1 second long. So if we delay for any reason, that dreaded hold in the countdown, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow if conditions permit. Now, we'll have a camera view on the second stage. The camera will show the 5 Iridium satellites that are on the bottom of their cylindrical dispenser. That's the area closest to the second stage. On top of that are the 2 GRACE satellites that are mounted side by side on their custom dispenser. They're harder to see. In fact, the camera can't see past the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites, so we won't see them until hopefully after separation on orbit. Now, the 2 GRACE satellites will be simultaneously deployed shortly after we get into orbit. That's about 11.5 minutes after liftoff. We're then going to have a long coast phase as traditional for Iridium, followed by relighting the second stage engine to change the orbit to that required by the Iridium customer. Now, once we get into this new orbit, the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites will be deployed. That starts about 66 minutes after liftoff. We're going to release the satellites one at a time every 100 seconds. Now, as many of you remember, we've been launching Iridium satellites since the beginning of 2017. We're going to have 2 more launches after today's to finish the Iridium constellation. Now, when completed, that network will have a total of 66 active satellites as well as 9 in-orbit spares. Now, you may wonder, with this large constellation of cross-link satellites going around in low Earth orbit, what does that allow people to do? Well, one of the key capabilities of the Iridium NEXT system is supporting emergency situations. So let's take a look at how Iridium NEXT provides connectivity for emergency services and first responders around the world.
We take our safety for granted. We expect that we can make a call, be located, and be in touch when needed. And we don't think much about our safety beyond that, until we need help. Then we reach for our phone, we call the police, the fire department, whoever it is, we call the number. And we expect to make that connection. We have faith that that call will always go through. What if it doesn't? What if the water is rising, the fire is getting closer, or there is a medical emergency in a remote area? You don't want to be faced with this. What if a natural disaster has destroyed phone lines and cell towers? What then? First responders need reliable, quick access to be able to coordinate relief efforts across teams in desperate situations. In today's world, staying connected is critical. How do aircraft stay connected so they get to their final destination safely? A ship in the middle of the ocean needs to stay connected, as the weather can change in a moment's notice, and emergencies can mean life or death. Threats to our safety are unpredictable. A reliable connection shouldn't be. Iridium's constellation of 66 satellites constantly orbiting the Earth means no matter where we are, anywhere, for any reason, we could have a lifeline to safety. It makes sense the new broadband service is called Iridium Certus. The name means certain and reliable. Iridium's global connectivity provides people in the air, at sea, or remote location, as well as the people committed to keeping us safe, with the peace of mind of being connected. When it comes to our safety, connectivity should never be in doubt, not have limits, and never be compromised. That's why Iridium makes the world a safer place.
That gave you a better sense of the connectivity the Iridium NEXT constellation will provide. As I mentioned, we also have 2 additional satellites on board mounted above the Iridium NEXT satellites. These are the Grace follow-on satellites. They're called follow-on because they replace 2 satellites, also called Grace, that were launched back in 2002. Now, the 2 Grace satellites fly in orbit about 220 kilometers apart. The satellites use microwave radio frequency signals to measure the distance between them. The measurement is accurate to about the thickness of a blood cell. It's incredibly accurate. Now, before I talked about their name, it's the mission of Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment. The Earth's gravity will tug on each satellite at different times as they fly over mountains and seas. The accurate measurement and location that we have of the satellites allows the Earth's gravity to be measured and mapped. And knowing what causes the gravity to change slightly going around the Earth is used to understand how water is moving around the world, influencing the climate. Now, we've just passed inside of T-minus 4 minutes. The transporter erector Strongback is moving away from the Falcon 9. We're also finishing up loading liquid oxygen on the second and first stage. First stage should finish about 3 minutes, second stage shortly after that.
Sliding back a little bit.
Stage T TVC motion nominal just called out. That's the final check of the thrust vector control actuators that move the second stage engine in flight. Now, as we get inside of 90 seconds, you may see a large white cloud come off of that transport erector. We're venting down gaseous oxygen from the plumbing that's in the erector, so that cloud, if we do see one, that's normal. Iridium and Grace satellites
distinguish it from the other
are ready to go. The teams are waiting for launch. The range is ready to support, and the weather has cooperated. As a reminder, we do have a backup launch window tomorrow if anyone calls hold. That'll be about 5 minutes earlier than today. But right now, we've just passed inside of T-minus 3 minutes and counting. Everything looking good for the flight of Falcon 9.
Yeah, for what it must be the camera angle that they're using. I mean, condensation is pretty normal for this stage, and usually a lot of it, but just this camera angle, for whatever reason, or maybe it's the wind pattern today, it's just completely obscuring the vehicle, which is that you don't see that quite that often, or maybe it's just this camera angle that they're giving us here. So yeah, this is pretty exciting. Now I'm like super pumped now because I really hope they show us Mr. Steven actually attempt recovery. So we're gonna see. I got a couple graphics too. We can show what the Grace follow-on satellites look like, but they're basically two trapezoidal type satellites. They're going to fly just a slight ways away from each other, and they're going to be able to measure how far away they are,
has closed up.
Measure the gravity difference between their two locations, and see how it changes over time. So
RC countdown 1.
We can talk more about that after
Verify
launch.
range is green and go for launch.
Range is green.
Stage 2 lock slide closed out.
Stick around after too. We get a test patch to give away if we launch today. Even if we don't launch, we'll probably give away a sticker at least, right? About a minute and a half here. I feel like I gotta be quiet. I'm super, super excited. Please show us
gas closeout started.
Mr. Steven recovery. Finally got my Facebook comments up. So hello to Carrie, Erica, Angelo, Caprina, all watching on Facebook. I finally see your comments now.
AFTS is ready for launch.
Here we go, 1 minute.
F9 is in startup.
Everybody clapping. They passed the 58-second mark again after the last time when the flight system aborted at T-minus 58 seconds, so we passed that. Getting
LD, go for launch.
Launch director's ready. Weather looks fantastic there. A lot better than it is here.
T-minus 30. 20.
Flight tanks configured for flight.
15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Great view. There's going to be some great pictures of that.
Vehicle switching down range.
Oh no! Oh.
Stage 1 props nominal.
GC copies.
SpaceX broadcast buffering. Don't buffer on me, SpaceX. We got a lot of cloud cover. It didn't look like there were many clouds there, but oh, there we go. Now we can see it. Oh. This is not a great view. No! No, what's happening?
Plus 47 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 performing nominally. We're currently
No, come on.
throttling down the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage, preparing for the period of maximum dynamic pressure and going supersonic.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
You heard the call out, Falcon 9 is supersonic. We're throttling the Merlin 1D engines back up as we pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Maximum dynamic pressure.
A minute and a half into flight, trajectory looks good for Falcon 9. We're seeing the view from a ground camera, and obviously we're having trouble with the autofocus. But Falcon 9 continues to track downrange well. Power on the Merlin 1D engines looks good. Avionics power looks good.
MVAC engine chill has begun.
The MVAC engine chill call out indicates that we have opened the pre-valve. We're beginning to chill in the upper stage engine in preparation for ignition.
That's kind of
Now
cool
the sequence
view
of
there.
events coming up at T plus 245, we will have main engine cutoff. We'll shut down the 9 Merlin engines. The first stage will then separate, and we will light the second stage engine. So those activities coming up in just under 20 seconds from now.
Why are they filming on a potato? Yeah, the autofocus. I guess there was you can see the cloud cover, I guess, in the back, but yeah, having a lot of trouble focusing on that.
Throttling down the engines in preparation for MECO.
Okay.
We're looking at the second stage here now. There's the second stage engine. Oh, hey, a flying
Stage
blob.
1A of TSI.
We've had successful shutdown and separation. Second stage engine has lit. Major activity coming up in about 14 seconds is separation of the payload fairing. We have fairing separation confirmed. You can see 3 of the Iridium NEXT satellites of the set of 5. As I mentioned, the Grace satellite's mounted on top of that, but not visible from the camera.
Following a nominal trajectory.
3.5 minutes into flight, we've heard the call out. The trajectory is nominal. The power on the upper stage engine is good.
Yeah, so I don't know if we're going to actually be able to see the Grace satellites get deployed because they're kind of being blocked by the Iridium satellites there. They're on the very front.
T plus 4 minutes since that great liftoff from Vandenberg. A view from the second stage aft-facing camera. California coastline, we're headed south towards Antarctica. Now, as a reminder, the first stage is not going to be recovered, so there won't be any views from the drone ship downrange on this mission.
View from Mr. Steven, though? Show us Mr. Steven, maybe? That would be nice. I hope they show us Mr. Steven. Yeah, so this burn's going to go on for a little while. Cutoff is at about the 10-minute mark, so we've still got about 5 minutes or so before this burn cuts off. But hopefully, I don't know if I didn't even hear if they're going to try to do, like, a lot of times, even if they're expending the first stage, they try to do an experimental, like, high-speed landing or, soft water landing with that first stage just to test out.
5 minutes into flight, second stage engine power on the MVAC-D engine continues to look good. We're running at over 200,000 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of space. Trajectory continues to look good. Power on the second stage from the batteries mounted on the avionics rack continue to perform well. All systems continue to look good on the Falcon 9, carrying 5 Iridium NEXT satellites and the 2 Grace follow-on satellites.
Yeah, so like a lot of times they try to do an experimental soft water landing. I didn't hear if they were doing one, which wouldn't surprise me if they don't, considering that they're kind of moving towards all Block 5 going forward. So we'll have to see. We probably won't hear anything about that during the broadcast. Maybe afterwards we might hear something, but they may just let it go down in a blaze of glory with nothing special with that first stage. So
plus 6 minutes and 4 seconds into flight. Second stage of the Falcon 9 continues to perform nominally. All systems go on Falcon 9 carrying Iridium NEXT and Grace follow-on.
So we're gonna wait. So we've got a successful launch today. We'll give away a test patch here in a little while. We'll probably wait for a break in the action.
Call-outs from the propulsion team. Everything continues to look good for the upper stage engine. Now, as a reminder, it's 6 minutes and 45 seconds into flight. This is the first burn. That'll put us into an initial orbit, following which we will deploy the GRACE satellites. We'll then have a second burn that moves us into final orbit for the deployment of the Iridium NEXT satellites. So stay with us after we get shut down of the engine. 7 minutes into flight. As I mentioned, we'll have 2 burns. In between will be a 42-minute coast phase between the end of burn 1 and the start of burn 2.
Yeah, and so if you see at the timeline at the bottom there, you get second stage cutoff, and then the GRACE follow-on deploy is right away, right after that, just like a minute or so after that. Then we got a long break until we get to the Iridium deploy. So we'll have some time. That's where we'll give away the test patch, do some more. We'll talk a little bit more about the mission, plus what we got coming up we got one of our flights coming up as well. Let's see, Ashwin says, you look like Murr from the Impractical Jokers. I don't think anybody's ever said that to me, but I appreciate it, maybe, unless you're talking about my hairline. Then I might be offended.
Coming up on 8 minutes into flight since launch of Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 4 at Vandenberg Air Force Base. We're heading south over the Pacific Ocean, headed towards Antarctica on our first of 2 burns of the upper stage engine. Now, in order to fly an efficient trajectory for both of the payloads, we're actually now running the second stage engine at lower power. That means the burn will be longer. For folks who are used to seeing us shut down the upper stage engine 9 to 9.5 minutes into flight, today we'll actually be shutting down the engine just past T plus 10 minutes into flight. That's planned for today. The longer burn at lower power obviously takes more time, but gives us a more efficient trajectory.
That's interesting to know. Didn't know they were doing that, but makes sense because we got to hit 2 different orbits today for the 2 satellite providers. So this is still pretty exciting launch. It's a little bit...
Stage 2 AFTS has saved.
Stage 2 AFTS, it's the automatic flight termination
Just past
system.
9 minutes into flight. Everything continues to go well. As I said before, we're headed for Antarctica right now. We will have a coast phase once we get shut down. It'll cross over the southern polar regions. And then en route east of Africa, where we will relight the engine. You might have heard a call out behind me. I think some of the employees got a glimpse of one of the other cameras, and that's nominal on the second stage, so no need to worry about the expressions that you might have heard in the background.
Yeah.
Vehicles and terminal guidance.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
To shutdown of the second stage engine.
Everybody went, ah, in the background. I'm guessing maybe that has something to do with Mr. Steven. So I don't know. I was hoping they were going to show it to us. But I guess I don't know how long it takes to...
Cook LOS expected.
Oh, that's just loss of signal. Expected loss of signal there. A big sigh in the background, if you could hear it. Everybody in the background went, ah.
Tico.
We've had shutdown of the second stage engine. We're going to wait for call out on the orbit.
So there's what our polar orbit here is going to look like.
Nominal parking orbit insertion.
And what we like to hear
good.
on the speakers in the background, nominal parking orbit insertion. The first burn of the second stage is complete, but stay with us because in less than a minute, we're going to be coming up on separation and deployment of the 2 GRACE follow-on satellites. While we can't see the satellites directly from the camera, we're hoping with the wider field of view of the camera that we might catch a glimpse of 1 or 2 of them passing through the field of view. They separate away from the dispenser mounted on top of the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites.
Yeah, so that deployment, what time is that deployment? The 11:33, so that's coming up in less than 10 seconds here. That should be deployment right about there. Gotta kind of look around the side.
Payload deploy confirmed.
Payload
we have
deploy confirmed.
confirmation of deployment of the Grace follow-on satellites. So we're through the first major milestone today. The first satellites have been deployed. We're now going into a coast phase with the second stage with the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites still attached. We're going to resume coverage of live commentary at T plus 56 minutes, just under 44 minutes from now. We'll leave you with animations and possibly live views from space as we have ground station contact. So currently, everything looking good on Falcon 9, and we'll be back coming up for the relight of the second stage engine and the deploy of the Iridium NEXT satellites.
All right, well, there's stage 1 of the launch. Now we got about a 40-minute break before they come back. It's a long time. We're gonna hang out for a little while. We'll chat it up. We can turn this down. We don't need their music here. Actually, I'll switch over to this instead. There's our mission patch for today, the SpaceX mission patch. I'm gonna shut that off in my ear here so that I'm not listening to all that. But there we go. So we got a successful deployment for the Grace follow-on satellites, and now we got a real long break before we get to the Iridium deployment. It sounds like I'm guessing that the Mr. Steven big catcher's mitt boat did not succeed. I don't know what they don't give us any confirmation or view. I was really hoping they were going to show it to us today, but not so much. At least it doesn't seem like they show. Or I would assume 10 minutes after launch, I would assume that we should be that would be landed or hit the ground at that point. So yeah, I guess no Mr. Steven view, unfortunately. I was super excited to see that because it looked like they were going to show us live views. But the good news is it seems like maybe they got some cameras out there, and maybe, well, it sounded like the SpaceX employees got to see it, and maybe they just didn't show it to us. So maybe they're getting there. They're working up to it because everybody, you could hear in the background the big ah. So, and then of course John was like, yeah, you heard everybody sigh in the background, but don't worry about that. Second stage is still good. So they didn't even comment on it, which I don't know why they wouldn't do that. Like, I don't know, if Mr. Steven doesn't catch it, like, I don't know, who cares? We don't need to cover that up, but it is what it is. So Martin says, what's the catch boat for? So the catch boat, Mr. Steven, is to catch the payload fairing. So the payload fairing, which is basically the nose cone that protects the payload and the satellites, that payload fairing, which actually it's a new payload fairing, so it's called fairing 2.0. It looks like the one on the right-hand side of the screen, the one with the POF logo there. The one on the left is fairing 1.0. The one on the right is fairing 2.0, a little bit larger, and it also has these parafoils, these steerable parafoils built into it. So that fairing 2.0 here, the idea is once it gets jettisoned, it's going to parachute down like this. But they've had a lot of issues with that because, that payload fairing is not the most aerodynamic thing after it's been separated. And they got this big, like, it's for all intents and purposes, it's like trying to parachute a sheet of plywood down. 'Cause it's just this big flat-ish, piece of material here that screws with the actual parafoil aerodynamics there. So, but anyways, they're trying to bring it down like this, and then the idea is that they're going to take the Mr. Steven boat with its big net. Where's my Mr. Steven picture here? And they're going to go out on the water. I might even have a better picture of that. Does this one have the net? Yeah, this has got the older net before they upgraded to the yellow netting there. This is the older net, but it's basically going to go out on the water and try to drive underneath that descending payload fairing. So that Mr. Steven boat there is it's going to try to catch it, but has yet to succeed. So so that's the idea behind the the catch boat, as Martin said. So we'll see if they're able to actually do that someday. And who knows? Maybe they succeeded today. They didn't give us an official word one way or another whether or not they succeeded, but we'll see. And we don't know what we don't officially know what the big was in the background, but I suspect maybe it had something to do with Mr. Steven, but who knows? Mr. Steven needs lobster claws. Yeah, it does. It looks like it's got those big claws from that, whatever the arcade game is that you see, that you go pick up the little prize in the arcade game. It looks like that kind of. Let's see. Oh no, Pony missed everything. Well, you're here now, Pony. They probably taped the boat, but if it's not caught, they won't show it. Yeah, well, that's one thing that I was hoping, is that it looked like they had live camera views, that maybe they showed the employees, and maybe they will show, they'll show the video afterwards, because it would be nice to know what that the big sigh in the background was. So, let's see, what else did we see? I skipped past the whole couple. Yeah. Tamobiwan 06 said, that's like, hey, the rocket exploded on the pad, but everything is nominal. It's still fine. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. That's kind of what John did there on the big sigh in the background. Everything's good. Everything's good. Pay no attention to that. Let's see. There was a do the fairings float? Yeah, I do believe, well, it probably depends on how they actually land. If they land softly, they do float, and they have been able to recover them. Even if they miss the boat, they have still been able to recover them. So they will float, because somebody else said it, that they kind of look like a boat once it's on the water. Who said? Stubby said they look like a boat on the water. And actually, I think I got a picture of that too. Yeah, so the fairings do float. If they soft land. I mean, obviously, if they just land, at 100 miles per hour, they're going to explode into a million pieces, and then the pieces probably float still. Yeah, it looks exactly like a boat in the water. Like you throw an outboard engine on the back of that, and you get yourself a little fishing boat. So, let's see, what else do we have? The ship captain for Mr. Steven would be a cool job. That would be kind of crazy. Although I feel like you're putting your life in danger every time you're trying to get underneath this super crazy large payload fairing that's supposed to gently parachute down, but who knows if it actually does. I don't know. I mean, I think they have every single time, but there's always just that chance of something going wrong. So, play guitar, please. I can't. That'll be another YouTube channel. I'll play the guitar, but this is for space and weather balloons and sciencey stuff. Not that the guitar is not cool, but someone in the SpaceX Discord now is a SpaceX employee. I think they're saying the thermals failed on the fairings or something like that. Oh, well, if somebody's paying attention to the SpaceX Discord, let me know what they're saying there, because I don't know what that big sigh was about. So. Let's see, take space station 10 seconds to respond to any video response, but we can watch a GoPro for my rocket going 17,000 miles an hour. Fake space travel. All right. I don't think that doesn't sound accurate to me, but I'll go with that. Sure. They all float. You'll float too. Do we have any info on who the captain is? I know nothing about the captain, Deborah, of who the Mr. Steven captain is. Is the rocket going to land? It will land, but they're not going to keep it in one piece. It's being expended, so it's just being expended into the ocean. That's the first stage booster is going to be expended into the ocean. No recovery for that. This is the second time they've flown that booster, and so these Block 4 boosters only meant to fly twice, and so the second time they've been expending them, basically doing away with them, letting them crash into a million pieces. And they, because we're moving on to Block 5 next, so we got to make room. Got to make room for the Block 5 boosters that are being manufactured now. No sense in keeping around these Block 4 boosters. So launch it the second time, let it get expended, and then they're done with it. And then they don't have to pay the recovery cost and operations to send a ship out there and everything else. So, yeah, no recovery today for the first stage, but the Mr. Steven was supposed to recover the fairing. Who knows? No word on what happened there. Let's see. Launcher will not be recovered. Nope, first stage booster not being recovered. SpaceX Discord. SpaceX Now Discord. Sorry, yeah. I do have the SpaceX Now app on my phone. It is a great app. I didn't know they had a Discord server. I'll have to go check that out. Let's see. So, Jared wants me to debunk space altogether. I'm in the middle of a live broadcast right now, so I'm probably not going to go debunking space right now, but maybe later I will try to debunk space. Let's see. What Robert wants to know what Jared's saying. Jared's having a he come to a SpaceX launch to tell us all that SpaceX is fake. So I don't know why you're watching the SpaceX launch if you think it's fake. So, anyways, well, that's enough of that. So let's see. What else do we want to talk about? We didn't get to everything that we wanted to say beforehand. Does this rocket have 5 satellites on it? So yeah, it's actually got more than that. 5 of them are the Iridium satellites. That's what we're waiting to be deployed. There's actually 7 total. So we had 5 for the 5 for the Iridium constellation, which is half of the normal Iridium constellation. So usually they have 10 on board. When they do a typical Iridium constellation launch, they're usually 10 at a time. But today they're sharing the launch with NASA. NASA's doing their Grace follow-on. So this is what the payload looks like. So up at the top here, let's guess it's this way. Up at the top here, those are your 2 Grace follow-on satellites, those trapezoidal satellites that are on either side. That's the Grace follow-on mission up top. Those are 2 different satellites. They deploy. They're slightly separated from each other. And what they're going to do is, as they go over spots of the Earth, they'll be able they'll be able to measure the gravity differences between the 2 locations and how it's affecting. They're also using this is a rough approximation of what's happening, but they're also using the distance between each other to make those measurements. And basically the big goal here is they're actually detecting how water is moving on the planet. So the mass of our planet, the actual rock structure, for the most part, is pretty much, it is where it is. But the water's moving all over the place, and as it shifts, it can affect the gravity pull because your mass is shifting around different places, just a little tiny bit, not a huge amount. So what they're doing is detecting those little tiny bits and variations in the gravity as they go across, and they'll be able to detect how water is moving, because essentially those little tiny bits of gravity variations are from water movements, because that's the largest source of your mass shift on the planet. There's a lot of other mass that's shifting on the planet all the time, but your biggest overwhelming shift in mass is from water, since that's majority of our planet here. So Leia said, when are you giving away the test patch? Let's do that now. We should give away the test patch. Sorry, Leia's getting right to business. Give away the test patch. Let's get to it. All right, let's do that. We'll give away the test patch, and then we can move on. We'll talk some more, because everybody's been waiting for the test patch. Leia's pounding away on the keyboard. She's tapping away at the mouse. She wants to win a test patch. So let's give one away here. Let's see. I got to pull up Nightbot here. So while I pull up Nightbot, here's how this works. FYI, if you so there's official rules in the description below. Sorry, I'm going to try to multitask here. Oh, actually, I can see the chat in both places here. I don't have to multitask here. I can see both of them. Sorry, I can't talk and think at the same time here. So if you're in the US, Canada, the UK, or the EU, you're eligible to win the NASA test patch from the test mission that I went to in person a couple weeks ago. The only exceptions are if you're in Quebec, no go. If you're in France, Italy, or Sweden, that's also a no-go. So unfortunately, there's some legal restrictions. Really has nothing to do with shipping or anything like that. It costs like $1 to send these. So it's all the legal restrictions. Who knew it was so hard to give away free stuff? But there's so many restrictions about giving away free stuff. But we do have it opened up to the US, Canada, not Quebec, the UK, and the EU, not France, Sweden, or Italy. So if you're in those, areas, in order to win the patch, we're going to let Nightbot decide. Nightbot's our automatic moderator here, and all you have to do to be eligible is you got to type in a comment. Doesn't matter what it is. You got to throw in a comment, and you'll be eligible to win it. If you win it and you're outside of the eligibility area, let us know and we'll give it away to somebody else. Unfortunately, I wish I could let you win it. I also have to say that there is no purchase necessary. You don't have to make a donation, and it's void where prohibited. There's my legal spiel. So a purchase or a donation does not increase your chances of winning. Nightbot is going to decide who wins. So that's how this is gonna work and how it's gonna decide who wins the patch. And so fire off your comments here. That'll get you eligible. You know, whatever you want to say in your comments, keep it PG related, please, so the Nightbot doesn't time you out or ban you. Nightbot's been pretty tame today, so that's good. I did lower some of the thresholds because Nightbot was a little bit sensitive in the past with some of the comments and everything. So, so Gregorius said giveaway is eligible for U.S. I don't think Colombia, not Colombia. The U.S., Canada, UK, and the EU, except for Quebec, France, Sweden, and Italy. You got it all right, Gregorius, except Colombia. Sorry, Colombia, you're not in yet. So there we go. Those are our eligibility requirements there. Let's see. All right, I got to get Nightbot. I should have done this ahead of time, but I got to get Nightbot. Where's my giveaway tab here? All right, so get your comments in here now while I get the Nightbot up and running. Then we'll see who gets a test patch here. Where's giveaways? Giveaways. All right. Oh, District of Columbia. Yes, sorry, Gregorius. Yeah, District of Columbia. Different. That's Washington, D.C. here in the United States. District of Columbia is included. Not Columbia the country, but District of Columbia is included. So there we go. All right. Looks like we got a whole bunch of people eligible here today to win our patch. So I'm going to give you a couple more minutes here to get your comments in because I see a lot of people getting in their first comments, and I also know there's a little bit of a delay between, I think it's like a 20 to 30 second delay between when I talk and when you actually hear it. So I want to make sure you can actually get it. And then the way this will work is after Nightbot picks a winner, then you just got to send me a direct message with where you want it sent, and it's got to go to one of the eligibility places. So if you're in Quebec and you get selected to win, I can't send it to you in Quebec. You're not eligible. So just tell us if you're not eligible, and we'll do it again. So all right, everybody got their comments in. Looks like we're good to go, and we got like 50 eligible people here today, at least according to Nightbot. We got a lot of eligibles here. So all right, here we go. Who's got the hashtag Space Lobster Luck today? We're ready to give this away. I think I've waited long enough to get your comments in. So now we're going to we got just over 50 eligible here, and so we're gonna give this. Oh, we got a couple other people coming in. Last minute entries. All right, here we go. We're gonna roll the digital dice and see what the Nightbot comes up with. So, all right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, roll it. There we go. Justin is our giveaway winner for the test patch. So Justin, Don't know where Justin is from, but Justin is our giveaway. Hopefully you're in our eligibility area. So Justin, you've won yourself an official NASA TESS patch. TESS is the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite that was launched last month in April, the one that I attended in person. So let us know, let me know, Justin, where you want the patch sent to. Just send me a direct message on YouTube, preferably. But if you can't figure out how to send a direct message on YouTube, you can direct message me on Twitter or direct message me on Facebook, or use the email us option on overlookhorizon.com. So one of those ways, get a hold of me. Hopefully Justin is still, oh, there he is. Justin chiming in here now. So there we go. Justin, I want to make sure Justin was still with us. You got to stick around on the broadcast here. All right, so Justin is still with us. Justin, you win. Hopefully you're in our eligibility area. So send me a direct message on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or the email option on overlookhorizon.com. Just let me know the address you want me to send this to, and it will go out tomorrow, and hopefully you get it in a couple of days. And I'll get this sent out here. So, yeah, if Gregorius said, can you just confirm that you're eligible for the giveaway? So yeah, if you want to give us a OK and let us know that you are eligible in our eligibility areas, that would be nice. And so hopefully we'll be able to we'll send that out to you, and that will go out tomorrow. But the good news is, although Justin was our winner for the TESS mission patch, I do want to give away some other stuff here, because I feel like we got a whole bunch of people hanging out, and we want to, everybody's excited for the giveaway. We got a bunch of people, so maybe we'll give away a sticker here. We do have more mission patches to give away on future SpaceX launches. But while we got everybody here, let's give away a sticker too. We can give away, let's give away a sticker as well, because eventually everybody's going to forget what the NASA TESS mission is. So we can give away a TESS sticker, kind of like the TESS mission patch, a little bit different, but we can give away a TESS sticker. If you want to win a TESS sticker, we're going to do one more giveaway here and see if we can send out a sticker as well. And we'll try another one here. We got a whole bunch more people eligible. How do I do another giveaway? So we gave away one, and now Red Lobster gift card giveaway. Mike says, yeah, I know. We should, if we can get ourselves a Red Lobster sponsorship, then maybe we'll give a Red Lobster gift card giveaway. But I've yet to hear from those Red Lobster people. All right, so Gordon says, I dare you to send this sticker to Poland. I think Poland's in the EU, right? As long as you're in the EU, you can get the sticker. It only costs us $1 to send it out there to you. So it's not really a big deal. Not like we're shipping anything huge. And everybody says it looks like it says TOSS. It does kind of look like it says TOSS. But you have to look real close. There is an E in there. It says TESS. The E is supposed to be the exoplanet transiting in front of the sun, or in front of the star rather, and that's what the TESS mission is doing, is looking at exoplanets crossing in front of stars that are way far away. So there we go. We'll give away a sticker here too. See, we got all kinds of things that we can do in the downtime while we're waiting for SpaceX to come back. Let's give away, Lying Down Man says, what about Australia? Sorry, Australia, we're not there yet. I'm working on Australia. I'm sure we can get Australia in there. But we're not to Australia yet. Right now it's just the US, Canada, the UK, and the EU. No Quebec, no France, no Sweden, no Italy. So, all right, so here we go. We'll give away another one here. Justin, yes, I can confirm I'm in the eligible area. Thanks again. Awesome. So Justin's our patch winner. So that's going to go out to Justin. And, all right, so let's give away a sticker here. Spin the wheel, Gordon says. Let's spin the wheel. Come on, Nightbot. Let's spin that wheel. Wait, I got to restart there we go. All right, ready. Spin the wheel in 1, 2, 3. Give it away. There we go. Mike Ferguson has won the giveaway for the NASA test sticker there. So we got a test sticker going out to Mike Ferguson. As long as you're in the eligible area, we'll send out a test or toss. But it does say test. I promise it says it. It's, well, which way do I got to go? It does say test in there, kind of. But there you go. Mike Ferguson wins the test sticker. And then we're having so much fun with this. We got so much, and we got a lot of eligible people as well. So Mike, you just confirm you're in the eligibility area. I think you already confirmed earlier, but we're gonna do one more. I know I said that was the last one. I lied. We're giving away 3. We got this one. The last one is an Overlook Horizon sticker. So we'll have 3 of them go out here today. So we'll do one more here real quick, and then we'll see who else can get another sticker. We'll send 3 things out here today: a patch and 2 stickers. That seems like enough, right? We got all kinds of stuff. Mike says, "Thank you, everyone. On behalf of all lobsters everywhere, I graciously accept this award, and I will send the proceeds to feed hungry lobsters everywhere." Send the proceeds, sell the proceeds. He's gonna sell my sticker and feed hungry lobsters everywhere. All right, well, all right, last one here. Overlook Horizon sticker going out here. We're gonna roll the dice here and give it one more shot at it. All right, here we go. Last one. Now, like somebody. Stubby says, "Congrats, Mike. It was your silent E joke that won it." Apparently, Nightbot liked the silent E joke. All right, last one. Overlook Horizon sticker here. That's going to go out as well. We will. Let's see. Let me restart the giveaway here, and we're going to give this out. Oh, so before I forget, Mike, send me a direct message. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Let me know. Or the email us option on overlookhorizon.com. Let me know the address you want your test sticker to go to, and that'll go out tomorrow with Justin's test patch and also this Overlook Horizon sticker that we're going to give away. That's going to go to roll the dice. Little tear. Little tear. Little tear. Little tear. Little tear. All right. Let us know, give us a confirmation that you're in the eligible area for a Overlook Horizon sticker, and we will send that out away. So there we go. There's 3 giveaways here for today while we're waiting for SpaceX to resume their coverage. We're just over halfway into this coast phase here. Give away your guitars, one ninja said. Somebody else asked me to give away my guitars last time. Still not giving them away. So yeah, little tear. Let us know. Give us a confirmation that you are in the eligibility area of the U.S., Canada, the U.K. or the EU. No Quebec, no France, no Sweden, no Italy. So we'll wait for that confirmation there, and then looks like they're switching up a couple of views here down below. It's getting super dark in that view, and it looks almost cloudy. That's kind of weird. Not sure what's going on there, but we are waiting now still. Don't worry, guys. If you didn't win this time around, we got lots more. We got lots more patches, lots more stickers, all kinds of stuff. I really like this giveaway thing. I have a lot of fun with this. So we're having fun with the giveaways, and we'll continue to give away more while supplies last. Do you ship to North Korea? I'm going on vacation next week. Sorry, Mike, I can't ship to North Korea. I can only ship to the eligible areas. So yeah, no North Korea. But if you're going on vacation there, if your home is in one of the eligible areas, then we can send it there, and it'll be waiting for you when you get back. So Pony says, "What a Pony!" Once again, I'm such a loser. No, Pony, not a loser. No, we're all winners here. Just can't all win a sticker or a patch, but next time we got another launch coming up here. The next one is SES 12, which is coming up on the 31st is when it's scheduled for. Is the next Falcon 9 SpaceX launch. So May 31st is when the next one will be, and then probably won't do any giveaways during it, but our launch, our next weather balloon launch, is coming up this weekend. So pretty excited about that. We are launching another one of our weather balloons, not the Space Lobster yet. We want to make sure everything's working in tip-top condition before we launch the Space Lobster, because we want to make sure we can get the Space Lobster back. So we're not doing the Space Lobster launch yet. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, let me see. I'm all strapped in here. Let me see if I can roll back and get a. Oh, here we go. There it is. Okay, in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure which flight it'll be. Maybe 13 or 14. We're on flight 12 is coming up this weekend. Flight 13 or 14 will be the next couple ones coming up. But that will be launching the our Space Lobster up into space on board our weather balloon flight. Flight 13, maybe 14. So coming up, looks like it's going to be summertime. I think I said it was going to be springtime originally, but like I said, we want to make sure that our systems are performing in tip-top condition before we launch the Space Lobster, because we want to make sure we get it back. And Tomobiwan says, do you live stream the weather balloon launches? Yes, we will be live streaming our launch operations and our recovery operations. We cannot actually get live video from the onboard cameras. We can only get the video after it lands. But we do record video, and we will be recording video on this flight as well, like we've done on the previous ones, and we'll share that afterwards. But no live video from the onboard cameras, but we will live stream the launch operations. We're going to live stream the recovery operations, assuming we have mobile bandwidth. Sometimes that's an issue at recovery, because we usually plan the flights to land in remote areas, and so trying to live stream from remote areas, especially if you watch the last one, can be a little bit difficult. So we will be live streaming this weekend. Right now we got two dates. It's either going to be Saturday or Monday. We're watching the weather predictions right now, trying to see what the best day is going to be for weather conditions and also wind conditions. So we want to we want to make sure we have a good condition. Tom Obi-Wan says, call me Tom. Oh, I got it. Tom Obi-Wan. I thought it was one word. So it looked like Tom Obi-Wan. I had it. Tom and then Obi-Wan. I got it. I figured I got the Obi-Wan reference. I just thought it was a big Tom Obi-Wan. But yeah, so we will be live streaming our launch coming up this weekend, either Saturday or Monday. Keep an eye on Twitter at OLHCN. We'll be announcing our actual launch date and time coming up there soon. So keep an eye on that, and we'll see which day it's going to be. But right now we're planning on having on board our flight cameras, at least 2 cameras. The third camera is kind of up in the air. We're waiting to see what our weight comes in at, to see if we can add the third camera. Usually we have 2 cameras that face out the side, and then there's a third camera that faces straight up at the balloon. For 90% of the flight, it's not very interesting. But for that I guess 99% of the flight, it's not interesting. But that 1% of the flight where the balloon actually bursts, it's a pretty awesome view. So hopefully we can add the third camera on here if we stay under the weight, if we can get under the weight limit. So yeah, Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, we're looking at either Saturday or Monday, because it is a holiday weekend here in the U.S. So the downside is the Saturday launch, as of right now, launch time would be at like 3:30 in the morning. That's like 7:30 UTC, 3:30 Eastern time in the morning. I don't know if we want to launch. It might give us some cool views of the sunrise, but I don't know if we want to launch that early. But the Monday launch would be more like 10 o'clock in the morning, which is like 2 p.m. UTC or 1400 UTC. So those are kind of our options right now, but we're still pretty far out, and these weather predictions can change drastically. They start to hone in and get a little more accurate as we get closer to closer to the actual launch day itself. So I don't know why. I should have switched to full screen view a long time ago. I don't know why I didn't. But there we go. So what type of barometric altimeter do you use for launches? Well, our altimeter, we've got basically two ways of measuring our altitude. We do have an onboard barometric altimeter that's it's a BMP Bravo Mike Papa 280, and there's a link I think in the description below. But that's actually not our primary method for getting altitude. We use GPS as our primary method for measuring our altitude. So we've got the BMP will give us relative altitude above ground or above our launch level, but the GPS gives us exact altitude above sea level. So we use the GPS system for measuring. That's our primary method of altitude. And if you follow along with our flights and you follow the map, then the map and the altitude that the map shows is all our GPS altitude above sea level. So, but we do record both. So after the flight, we have both the altitude above sea level, and we've got the relative altitude from the barometric altimeter. So let's see, from their brief description on the stream seems to imply that it's for emergency response, almost like GPS will be the priority on if you pay for something. If not, where's the cash flow? Yeah, I think that's in response to what Iridium. I think Iridium, I know somebody asked if Iridium was it might even been Gregorius. I think Iridium is a private company. I'm pretty sure they're a private company, but they are, yeah, they basically sell their access to their Iridium constellation. Pretty beefy constellation, if you saw in the video, a communication constellation that is. They showed it as a lot of like emergency response systems, but I don't think it's limited to just emergency response. There's definitely a lot of other applications that the Iridium satellite gets used. Even SpaceX is actually a customer of Iridium, because now Elon announced that SpaceX was going to be tracking a lot more information about the second stage as it deorbited, because they want to start trying to recover that second stage, the upper stage. And the only way they can do that, because when you're coming back into the atmosphere, it creates this huge plasma ball, especially on the front leading edge as it's coming into the atmosphere. You can't transmit anything to ground stations. So the only way to transmit any data is you got to transmit it backwards, back up to the Iridium constellation. So that's how SpaceX is going to obtain data for their second stage reentries that they're going to be studying and try to actually recover these upper stages here. So oh, Deborah says, so why did you go into weather balloons? Yeah, that's a good question. Why we went into weather balloons? I don't know. We got a long time ago, I got an Arduino computer, which if you're not familiar, an Arduino computer looks like this. It's just a like credit card size computer. It's basically a bare circuit board. You can see, I don't want to take these wires out because these are actually doing something right now. It's just a bare computer like this. It does nothing out of the box. You got to actually program it. I'm a software engineer, so that's what I do for a living is program code. So try to figure out what to do with it. And so, I don't know, a couple, 3-4 years ago, figured out, well, let's send it on board a weather balloon. And so ever since then, that's what we did. We got a whole bunch of kids interested and even adults interested in it. And so our goal as a 501c3 nonprofit organization in the US, our goal is to inspire kids and even adults into science and technology and stuff like that. And SpaceX does weather balloon launches. That's still one of the primary methods that they measure upper level wind conditions. I also like spaceflight. So it just made sense for us to actually, we do the weather balloon flights, but in between our flights, we do a lot of these SpaceX broadcasts and talk about this and talk about the science and what's behind SpaceX. And that's, I don't know, that's what we do. That's our story. So Mike says, FYI, lobsters need supplemental oxygen over 11,500 feet. Well, fortunately, this lobster is a very special breed that has all the oxygen it needs built right into it. Although I am kind of concerned. Well, no, it does have a little bit of a pressure relief because it's pretty thin plastic. I was worried that maybe it might bend or deform under the pressure difference, even though it's not that much, just slight pressure difference. But it does have a little vent hole, so hopefully it shouldn't really deform at all. Buckeye Storms, how many people are we? I'm assuming you're talking about we as in Overlook Horizon. Officially, we are like, there's like 4 or 5 of us that are part of the core group for our organization that do our weather balloon launches and are kind of the regulars that help with all our launches and recoveries. We've got a couple, and then we got a lot of volunteer people they'll come when they can. Some people help on the recovery, some people help with the launch operations, some people just help with the software stuff. And some people just answer questions because we get a lot of email questions that come in, people that want to launch their own weather balloon flights or get more information about it. So that's it. But usually, launch day, our team is usually about somewhere between 3 to 5 people is usually average. 5 people is really what we want to have, but it is a big time commitment, so it can be tough to get people on the launch team to get there for launch. But yeah, we treat it like a NASA mission. We got a whole countdown, and everybody's got jobs and procedures and radios and all that kind of stuff. It gets kids kind of interested, and they follow along and they ask questions. We got people that come watch in person, people that watch afterwards, and then email us about it. So there we go. And Tom said, why did you choose weather balloons over rockets? If you're willing to share, how much does a typical weather balloon cost? So we chose the weather balloons over rockets. Really, I love rockets. I have nothing against rockets, and we may get into rockets at some point. But to me, the rockets, entry level for rockets, there's only going to get you like 1,000 or 2,000 feet up. I mean, you can get into kind of prosumer rockets that'll go much higher than that. It's a little bit harder to launch rockets in upstate New York where we are, because you get a lot of if you're going to do a lot of those bigger rockets that go up like thousands and thousands of feet. But the weather balloon stuff is actually a lot easier to do in terms of learning curve and also planning and the area where you're launching and landing from. Because we've launched in my front yard. Most of the time we launch at the school, and so we can do a lot. And plus, even your entry level weather balloon, like for a $10 weather balloon, that's going to get you to like 60,000 feet for a $10 weather balloon. But the bigger balloons that we use they're about $100 or so. Those are the ones that get you over 100, 105, 110, 115,000 feet. You can go higher than that too. There's even bigger balloons. We don't typically use the ones that are super huge, but we may someday. And then, what was I going to say? Oh, so just the entry level ones, you can get up, you get the big black sky, and so it's a lot easier to get up super high with a weather balloon than it is with a rocket. So we can get some pretty amazing photos and videos, and that's really the photos and videos that we get. That's really what draws kids and adults into the science stuff, because there's a lot that goes into it. That's whether it's programming our actual flight. This is what our actual flight computer looks like. Programming the flight computer, or running weather predictions, or parachute performance calculations, or running atmospheric analysis after the flight, or all kinds of stuff like that. There's so much that goes into it science-wise, but the pictures are what draw them in. They're like, wow, that is cool. I want to try something like that. And so that's what kind of draws them in there. So all right, we can talk more about, we're almost getting here. Let's see what John is saying here. He's coming back, switch back over here.
Less than 1 minute from now. Now this is going to be about an 8-second burn. That's all it's going to take to raise us from the current orbit, where we successfully separated the Grace follow-on satellites, into the final orbit for Iridium. Currently, we're using cold gas nitrogen thrusters to keep propellant settled at the top of the turbopump on the Merlin engine. You can see there on the camera. Now we're back to animation. Currently on the night side of the Earth, so the camera view's not all that great. We're going to listen in now for ignition of the upper stage.
So we should be lighting the upper stage here now, and then we're still got the music going. And then the satellite deployment is going to start about an hour and 5 minutes into it. There we go. These are our relight to the upper stage.
Ignition. Shut down.
Ignition and shutdown of the MVAC-D engine. Waiting for guidance to confirm the orbit.
Only an 8-second burn there, so super quick.
Good orbit insertion for Iridium payload deploys.
All right, that's what we wanted to hear. The guidance, navigation, and control engineer reports this is a good orbit for separation of the Iridium satellites. Now we're going to go through a phase of about 8 minutes. Another coast as the second stage prepares to deploy the satellites. We'll see the first of the 5 Iridium satellite deployments coming up, and what we'll do right now is pause commentary. We'll resume it at T plus 65 minutes, but we'll keep sending you the views of the Falcon 9 second stage with the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites as we get ready for separation of those satellites coming up in just about 8 minutes from now.
All right, so there we go. That was pretty quick. Little 8-second burn there. Hey, how you doing? And then that's it. Back to a little break here. It's a quick break. It's only about 8 minutes here. So, yeah, oh, wait, I gotta mute this. It's blaring in my ear there. So let's talk. We'll go back to the weather balloon stuff because I feel like I was in the middle of talking about. Because somebody said there were a couple questions about our weather balloon stuff. Mike said, how do you avoid air traffic? I'm a pilot and I don't see TFRs for balloon launches. Do you launch in controlled airspace? So we do a bunch of things to coordinate with the FAA. We've actually there's a whole division with the FAA that coordinates weather balloon launches. Actually, most amateur weather balloon launches don't even need to be coordinated because they're so lightweight. But we do so many of them that we work directly with the FAA. We file a flight plan ahead of time, and so we give them all our predictions so they see exactly the size, the color, the path, the predicted path that it's going to take, which is usually pretty accurate. And then the actual flight controllers that are both in our local Rochester TRACON and as well as Cleveland Center, which is the upper airspace control center, they're both aware of it. We file NOTAMs for all our launches and landings, and we file like 15 different NOTAMs because we're notifying all the individual airports, and then the upper atmosphere, or the ARTCC control center, that's Cleveland Center, Rochester TRACON, and then a lot of time the area that we're in, it's very frequent that we launch in Cleveland Center airspace and land in either Boston Center or New York Center because we're right on the border of all 3 centers. So a lot of times we have to file NOTAMs in those centers as well. So we give them all the predictions, the flight plan, and the controllers themselves actually follow our launch on our actual live tracking map. I wasn't sure a couple months ago. I wasn't actually sure how much they did that, but we actually got a call during a couple of our launches where they actually wanted to know. One of the controllers called us once and said, "Hey, I can't find that link to your track. Can you send me the link again?" And so we emailed them the link, the tracking link. So they actually follow our live tracking map. A lot of times it does have a radar reflector on board for aircraft, but a lot of times it's so small that it doesn't really show up on a radar scope for an air traffic controller. So they actually follow it separately, or somebody there follows it separately. But they usually, most of the time, if you actually go to like Flight Radar or Flight Aware, and you watch the air traffic that goes through our area during our 2-hour window or 2 to 3 hour window for our launches, the air traffic all routes around our area. So for the most part, they're just routing air traffic around us, so they don't even have any conflicts. So there it is. Yeah, and we are also we're what are we, like 40 miles away from the nearest major airport, so we're outside of Class B, Class C airspace. We are close. We're pretty close to a local airport, but they're also included in our notifications so that they, any private pilots launching out of there, they get the NOTAMs, and the actual airport manager knows when we're launching. So we do a lot to coordinate with the FAA for our flights. So. So have you ever had anything go into Canada? No, we try to make sure we stay out of Canada. So if it's going to go into Canada, we don't launch those days. We only launch on days where we only really have a couple of landing areas that we consider like safe landing areas. So we really only launch on days that it will land in those safe landing areas. And Canada's outside there just because we don't want to cross over into international airspace, so we stay out of there. So NOTAMs on flight paths only show up if you file a flight plan. Must mainly be ATC notifications to potential impacted aircraft. Yeah, so my understanding as the way they handle our aircraft notifications, you know, one, there's a whole bunch of NOTAMs, so that at least if you're flying out of like Canandaigua Airport, you would, you know, presumably get that NOTAM. But also the biggest thing that the NOTAMs actually are being provided to are the controllers at Rochester TRACON and Cleveland Center. That's the biggest thing, and then the controllers are actually notifying the pilots of a weather balloon in the area. So that's my understanding on how that all works, but we kind of take the lead from the FAA on what they want us to do for notification procedures. So we work with them very closely. Actually, one of the guys at the FAA is a big fan of our stuff. He loves watching our videos. So anyways, let's see, what other questions did I miss? Why didn't they recover the first stage? So this is back on the SpaceX launch. This is the second time they had flown this Block 4 booster. So the Block 4s are really only meant to fly twice. So no sense in recovering this one. We're moving on to Block 5. They don't need it anymore. Letting it be expended today. So Martin says, is this happening right now? Yes, this is happening right now. This is real life. No, we are still live, although somebody watching this after the fact is going to, we're not live if it's after the fact, but right now we're live. Tom says, is it weird that I care more about the programming and flight technicalities in the balloon? Yeah, that's actually, see, that's what people, that's very common. Like, people get drawn in by the fact that it's a very weird kind of area to be in. You don't know a lot of, often you don't know a lot of people that do weather balloons on a regular basis. So one, they're like, wow, that's kind of weird. Two, they're like, wow, those are really cool pictures and videos. And then three, they start getting into the science behind it and the programming and the flight computers and all that kind of stuff. We actually I'm super excited because our upcoming flight that's coming up, we just built an onboard flight prediction system for our actual flight computers. So, the actual flight computer on board will be basically painting its target out on our map and predicting and saying, I think I'm going to land here. And then the more it comes down, it's going to keep updating how well the parachute's performing, what the wind conditions are like, and start predicting out its predicted landing location, which is going to be super awesome. I'm super excited about that if it works. It could go horribly wrong and not work at all, but I don't know, we tested it out a couple times this week. I'm actually going to do some more testing on it when the broadcast is over, but it's pretty exciting because ideally we've done it once where we actually caught the payload. We were so close to the landing site that the payload actually hit the ground, but I caught the string before it hit the ground. So we were so close that we basically caught it before the whole thing hit the ground. And then one other time we've seen it. Oh, hey, there we go. We got satellite deployment here. Let's go back to full screen. We just saw one of the Iridium satellites go off. So no word from...
Mounted on top of the second stage of Falcon 9.
Just didn't switch to him.
As I mentioned, we're going to do 5 deployments, 100 seconds between each deployment. So at the first one behind us, we're now 70 seconds away from the next deployment.
All right, so we're on the way. We got the first one deployed there. Saw it out of the corner of my eye. I got talking away. I don't know what's going on with this camera view here with that big halo around the engine bell, but so we got today 5 satellites getting deployed. They're about what do you say, 60 or 70 seconds apart. So it'll be about 5 minutes worth of deployments here. The last one is at 1 minute 12 and 28 seconds. So just a couple of minutes of deployment here. We'll see if this goes well and see how successful it is.
Coming up on the second deployment in about 5 seconds from now.
Mike says, make sure the Lobster observes the 8-hour bottle to throttle flight restriction for Monday. I like that. Oh, there we go. There's another
Iridium satellite payload deploy confirmed.
Another nice view of the second Iridium satellite
2
being
down,
deployed.
3 to go.
That leaves 3 to go. I believe the next one is on the far side of the dispenser, so we'll only have verbal confirmation of that. I don't think we're going to see it in the camera. That'll be coming up in about 75 seconds from now. Also, as a note, while we're in the coast phase over Antarctica, the customer has confirmed their ground station in Antarctica has made contact with the Grace follow-on satellites. So that indicates we had good separation of those satellites, and they are now talking to their ground station.
Yeah, so Frank's asked, why are the Iridium satellites so close to the same orbit? So with most satellite, well, these Iridium satellites actually stay pretty close together, but they will I don't know the exact specifics of it, but with most satellite deployments, the deployment of the satellite is not the end of the mission there. So they will likely get themselves oriented in their final resting orbit on their own after separation. I don't know if that's the case for Iridium specifically, but that's usually what happens, especially like a geostationary transfer orbit. The satellite does a lot of work after deployment. I don't know if that's the case here. If somebody knows, definitely let us know.
About 5 seconds, deployment of the third of the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites.
But yeah, it is pretty usual.
Third Iridium satellite payload deploy confirmed.
Confirmation. Satellite number 3 has separated.
3 down.
Didn't get a view of this one from the camera up on top of the second stage, but I believe the 4th one coming up, that'll be the close-up of the one that's right in the center of the field of view.
All right, so we got 2 more to go, and then we can call it a successful mission here. But yeah, usually I don't know specifically about Iridium, like what they do after launch, but yeah, it is very common for the spacecraft to do a lot more, to do some additional work after separation to get it into its final orbit. So in Iridium's case, because it's in a much lower orbit, it doesn't have to get itself into geostationary orbit, the work is probably pretty minimal, but they will likely do some work afterwards, I imagine. So Falcon Heavy can do straight to geostationary orbit, can't it? Yeah, I believe so. I think Falcon 9 can too. Just depends on what the weight is. I'm pretty sure Falcon 9 can also go direct to geostationary orbits, depending on the weight, and also really depending on if the customer wants to pay for that. But I'm fairly certain.
Waiting for the second stage camera to switch back to a view of the Iridium satellites. There it is, coming up in 5 seconds for deployment of number 4.
Fifth Iridium satellite payload deploy confirmed.
I think he said 5th.
A nice view of Iridium deployment off of the dispenser. That'll leave us with 1 more to go out of the 5 Iridium NEXT satellites carried on this mission. That'll come up in 78 seconds from now.
Yeah, so we got just about a minute here, and then we'll get the last one, and then we'll wrap it up here for the day. Hopefully YouTube doesn't scream at us for copyright stuff like they did on the last one, which they resolved. They said, our bad, we'll fix the but we did have some copyright issues from YouTube last time. But we got those all resolved. Hopefully once this video posts, we don't have those again. And then, I don't know, this should have a deorbit burn as well. They usually don't show that on the broadcast. I didn't see it on the press kit, but they should also, the upper stage should have a deorbit burn that it'll go through. So Caprina on Facebook says, when will you launch again? So that our
last
launch
deployment coming up in
weekend,
5 seconds.
Saturday or Monday. Those are our 2 dates right now.
Fifth Iridium satellite payload deploy confirmed.
Confirmation of the 5th of all 5 Iridium NEXT satellites successfully deployed. And that's a clean sweep again for deployments today. And that's going to bring an end to our webcast. It's been a great Falcon 9 day here in Hawthorne and at Vandenberg Air Force Base. We had an on-time launch of Falcon 9. First stage had a great flight. We saw stage separation live on the cameras. Shortly after that, payload fairing separation. And we're following payload fairings. Both successfully deployed parachutes, but they landed in the Pacific Ocean. The fairing recovery ship, Mr. Steven, came very close, but not quite. We're going to keep working on that. But meanwhile, second stage went into a great orbit. We heard the 2 Grace follow-on satellites separate. They've already been in contact with their ground station. We then saw the relight, and just now, all 5 Iridium satellites separating every 100 seconds, just as clockwork. We'd like to thank our Iridium customer and our NASA customer, as well as the United States Air Force for range support, and our licensing agency, the Federal Aviation Administration. Please follow us on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram. Look for launch photos on our Flickr webpage, and of course at SpaceX.com. Thanks for letting us share the mission of Falcon 9 with you, and join us on our next upcoming flight out of Cape Canaveral at the end of May. With that, have a great day.
All right, there we go. Here's the end of the mission for today. So another successful mission for SpaceX. That's fantastic. That's great news. It's always great to see it go off without a hitch. It's just good for everybody when it happens that way. So, so there we go. Success for today. Looks like an ICBM tip. Yeah. So that was the payload adapter. And I believe the way this was oriented is what we were looking at was the payload adapter was facing straight down towards Earth and the engine bell was facing out towards space. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So I don't know for sure, but I think the payload adapter was facing down towards Earth. And so when those were separating, they were separating like laterally across Earth. If you follow my thought process, I don't really have a, well, here we have the power of rewind. So you're not going to really see it that well, but I believe here. Let's go on an exploratory mission here for a second. I believe what we're looking at here is these. Let's see. Can you see my mouse here? I think these are like city lights here. I think. Pretty sure. If you watch the here, we'll mute the video here for a second. But if you watch, you can see those lights in the background move. Pretty sure those are city lights. Oh, go away. Back it up. Back it up. And so I think. Oh, I don't know where I was. There it is. So I think the payload adapter was facing straight down towards Earth, and so when it was separating them, it was laterally across the Earth like that. So just a little frame of reference there for what it's worth. Let's see. Somebody asked, what's this mission about? So these were what we just watched was the 5 Iridium NEXT constellation communication satellites. Big communication network that pretty much covers the whole globe, every spot across the globe. And that's why it's in polar orbit, because if it's in polar orbit, it goes around the poles and the Earth can spin around it, and it basically can just, I don't have a really good, need like a globe in here. A globe, then I can illustrate this, but the Earth spins around and the spacecraft just keeps going like this while the Earth spins inside of it. So So it covers the whole globe. And there are lots of them up there. There's like this particular constellation will have 66 after this launch, and there's 2 more launches coming that will have 10 apiece. I think 10 apiece. So there's like 85-ish Iridium satellites as part of this constellation. So let's see, what else did we miss? Oh, and then the Grace follow-on. Grace follow-on is a gravitational measurement. It's 2 satellites, 2 trapezoidal-looking satellites. We can actually jump back to the picture here real quick. Up top, nope, this way. The top section here, that was the Grace follow-on. That was the tip of the ICBM that somebody said. But up top, those are the 2 Grace follow-on satellites along the sides. They look like little trapezoidal satellites. They fly separately, but in relatively close proximity to each other, measure gravitational. This is actually a concept that was used on the Grace mission, which went for 15 years. It just decommissioned last year. Went for 15 years successfully, and also was used on the Grail missions to measure the lunar gravitational environment. So it was this whole scientific method was going to be used on Grace follow-on, was used on the original Grace mission, and also the lunar Grail mission. Close but no cigar. Yeah. So John said that the parachutes came out on the payload fairings for Mr. Steven. So our payload fairing, we did get, let's see, where's my graphic? I got it here somewhere. But Mr. Steven did get his, or not Mr. Steven, but the payload fairings got their parachutes out like this. Success there, but the actual Mr. Steven boat was unable to make the catch today. The idea is it's going to drive underneath that parachute and catch it. Sounds like it was close. Especially given, I'm still guessing that big sigh we heard in the middle of the broadcast where everybody went, oh, was Mr. Steven, I think. But who knows? They didn't really say anything about that other than pay no attention to that. So it sounds like it was close, but they didn't quite get it. So they're going to keep trying. Don't forget, it took them a long time to actually successfully land one of the Falcon 9 boosters at sea as well. So not unusual. I think this is the 3rd time they've tried it. So they didn't get it on 3 tries. They're going to keep going at it. So I think they could do it. Let's see. Oh, wow, I missed a whole bunch of... Tom says, I found my new go-to for SpaceX launch webcasts. Oh, I hope that means you're coming here. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Let's see. Are these the same who sent the car to space? Yes, SpaceX sent the car, Elon's Tesla Roadster, to space. Same group. That was a Falcon Heavy rocket, though. This was a Falcon 9. The Falcon Heavy is essentially 3 Falcon 9s strapped together. This is just the regular Falcon 9 today. A little, not quite as powerful, but don't need it for that. Our next Falcon Heavy launch, I think, is no earlier than September. It's either September or maybe October. But we're looking like fall time frame, end of summer, fall time frame for the next Falcon Heavy. I think they said October. I want to say October. Originally it was September, but I think recently I just heard October. I can't remember here. So, oh, now our YouTube playback is gone. Here, we can get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. Let's see. Close, but not quite. Hello, everyone. Make Homer. A little late, but just caught the end here. What happened to the first stage? First stage was expended. Not recovering it today. Let's see. I'm watching from Sweden. Hello, Sweden. Somebody wants to go to Mars. What happens to the delivery vehicle with the second stage booster? So typically SpaceX will deorbit that second stage. So after they don't usually show that on the broadcast, but after the deployment, usually spin it around, do a deorbit burn, let it come back into, they don't really need to do much for the deorbit burn. It may even, it could decay with atmospheric drag over time, but I think they do a deorbit. Well, I know for the geostationary ones, they usually do a deorbit burn, but they'll likely do a deorbit burn here to get that second stage expended. So, let's see. Tori, thanks for today. Thanks for have a nice night. All right, thanks, Gordon. Thanks for hanging out today. So it sunk assuming you're talking about the first stage, I don't know if sunk is the right word. I mean, it probably, well, it definitely sunk, but probably the more accurate term would be it exploded. So it likely, I don't believe, a lot of times they do soft water landings. I didn't hear anything about a soft water landing today. So if that's the case, then likely it just went on a ballistic trajectory and just smashed into the water at, 500, 300 or 500 miles per hour. So it probably broke into a bajillion pieces. And then those may have sunk, or sunk. So they, those are likely at the bottom of the ocean. If it didn't sink, yeah, Gregorius said if it didn't sink, they'll have the Navy blow it up. Yeah, they had to do that once. I think it was originally reported that it was the Navy that had to go out and blow up one of their boosters that survived the they were doing a soft water landing and it survived. Usually it doesn't, even a soft water landing doesn't survive because all those tanks are pressurized. So usually even a soft water landing, once it hits the water, it just goes kaboom. But they had one survive and they were like, oh, shoot, now what do we do? Because they couldn't just leave it like that. And they had no way of making it safe. So usually they can, shut off valves and make it safe for the ground crew to go up and do it. But they had no way of doing that. So they couldn't even send a crew there to go make the booster safe for somebody to approach. So they had to send somebody out to blow it up. Originally they said it was the Navy, but then like a week later the Navy said no, it wasn't us, it was a private contractor. So some mysterious force did blow up a Falcon 9 first booster a couple months back. Let's see, oh man, I'm not keeping up with the comments. Falcon Heavy October 30th. Got it. So Gordon says the next Falcon Heavy is October 30th. That's what I thought I heard October. So yeah, next Falcon Heavy is coming up in October. We still got a long way away for that. Greetings from Madrid. Hello, JC from Madrid. Bye, everyone. Great live stream. Thanks, Stubby. Thanks for hanging out. Remember to hit the thumbs up if you like the stream. Yeah, thanks, Stubby. Thanks for the shout out there. Yeah, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you like it. Pacific Garbage Patch needs more stuff. Yeah, I don't. It does seem like a lot of waste going into the ocean when they expend them, but I guess every other space agency, everybody's doing it. Every other space agency is doing that. Nobody's recovering their first stage boosters other than SpaceX, really. So I guess they're not any worse than everybody else. That's a terrible excuse. It's not really an excuse, but we should. If we can get these fully recoverable vehicles, then we won't have that problem anymore. So SpaceX is working at it. They're working at it. I'll take the environmental sacrifice of the Block 4 booster in order to get to Block 5 reusability. I guess that's how I'm going to rationalize it, right? That works. Gregorius, STP-2 launch October 30th. Okay, thanks for confirming that. Appreciate that. Yeah, October 30th for the next SpaceX. Hello from Mississauga, Ontario. Hello, George from Mississauga, Ontario. Thanks for tuning in and joining us today. Thanks for all the Facebook people. I'm sorry, I always forget about the Facebook people. Does it move like a gyroscope? I don't know what Basile was referring to. What does it move like a gyroscope? I'm not sure what he's referring to there. But there we go. So we had a successful launch today for SpaceX, which is awesome, fantastic, good for them. Always love to see a success. No scrub, which is nice. Always nice to see. We got a couple of winners for our test patch and our test sticker and our Overlook Horizon sticker. Hopefully those guys that won those have sent me a direct message already, and I will get those out tomorrow. And then join us. We got 2 more live events coming up in the near-term future. We got our launch. Overlook Horizon 12 is our next weather balloon launch coming up this weekend. It's either going to be Saturday or Monday. Keep an eye out on Twitter or on our YouTube page because we'll change the broadcast date and time around as we adjust the actual launch time. So keep an eye on that, and we will. We're going to have that weather balloon launch of ours. We'll live broadcast during launch and recovery, and we'll see how that goes. And we will, let's see. And then we've also, the second live event we got coming up is the SES-12 back at Cape Canaveral for SpaceX. That's coming up next week. May 31st is what it's currently scheduled for. So we'll see if that date holds up. So there we go. That's what we got going on. And then, yeah, make sure follow us on Twitter at OLHCN. I'm pointing at something like you guys can see my computer screen. Follow us on Twitter here. You guys can't see it. Anyways, follow us on Twitter at OLHCN. That's where we get most of our updates, but also subscribe to the channel. We'll get some more live videos. Make sure you hit the little notification bell. You know all the deal. Everybody says it all the time. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, then you know when we're going live all the time. So, and you don't miss it. And then, yeah, that's what's going on. And if you're really feeling generous, we are a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization in the U.S. You can make a nonprofit tax-deductible donation at overlookhorizon.com/donate. Any donations, if you're in the United States, are 100% tax-deductible. So there's a perk. So anyways, there we go. That's it. That's what I got for the broadcast today. I always love that you guys hang around and listen to me go on and on for so long. But we had fun today. We gave away some free stuff. And we're going to try to open it up to some more areas. Maybe Australia can get in the next giveaway here if we can work out the legal issues with giving away free stuff. Who knew it was so hard to give away free stuff? But there we go. We got plenty more launches, plenty more mission patches to give away, plenty more stickers to give away. Got Overlook Horizon stickers, we got test stickers, we got all kinds of stuff that we can give away. So make sure you subscribe and you're following along so that we can give some more stuff away. And I see Jason wants to know if the Space Lobster flies this weekend. No Space Lobster this weekend. We're gonna get it up. It's still probably 1 or 2 launches away. We want to make sure that we got everything working perfectly before we get the Space Lobster up, mostly because we want to make sure the Space Lobster comes back. So no Space Lobster this weekend, but we will have cameras on board, get some cool shots, and do some testing of our flight hardware this weekend. So tune in this weekend, and you'll see our weather balloon flight coming up this weekend, and hopefully that goes well. So, okay, well that's it. That's all I got. I appreciate everybody tuning in. And we'll see you guys again next time, hopefully this weekend. If I don't see you this weekend, then, well, I'll see you guys. Whether you tune in or not is up to you. But I'll be here this weekend. If you're not here this weekend, then maybe we'll catch you on the next SpaceX launch, May 31st. We'll be back here live again. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate everybody for being here. And you guys all have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you soon. All right. See ya.